Today, retired neurosurgeon Ben Carson is pulling even with Donald Trump. That's according to a new poll. The two are neck and neck, with Trump at 21% and Carson at 20%. Former HP CEO Carly Fiorina and Florida Senator Marco Rubio are tied at third with 11%.
These numbers come after Trump revealed several details of his platform in an interview with 60 Minutes. He hit on several topics, including taxes, ISIS, and health care.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25%, they can't afford private. But
universal health care.
I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now.
The uninsured person is going to be taken care of.
They're going to be taken care of.
How?
I would make a deal with existing hospitals to take care of people. And you know what? This is probably...
Make a deal. Who pays for it?
The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side.
Joining us from Washington, our CBS News senior political editor, Steve Chaggaris, and Amber Phillips from the Washington Post. Thank you both for being with us. Steve, let's start with you. It still sounds like some form of universal health care here. What will Republicans make of that health care plan?
Well, they won't be fans of it, obviously. This is something that Trump's talked about for years, and he's sticking to it. Republicans aren't really fans of it. And I think the bigger issue for him, though, is not only trying to sell that to Republicans, but also trying to sell how he's going to pay for it. As you saw in that clip, he doesn't have really any explanation on how he'll pay for something that's going to really cost a lot of money, probably in, billions, trillions of dollars. And so, how does he pay for that? He's going to have to explain that if he really wants to move forward with that plan.
Yeah, Amber, even Trump admitted that it's a very un-Republican plan. So how realistic is it when we're talking about a Republican Congress?
Right. Well, it's not. And, to his credit, Trump said, I don't care if this costs me voters. This is something I feel very strongly about. But when you look at polling just among Republican voters, Gallup, for instance, looked at whether Americans think it's the responsibility of the government to provide our health care. About 75% of Republicans, as recently as this fall in 2014, said no. That is a really tough sell and a big hill to climb for the lawmakers representing them in Congress if President Trump were to try and get this through. Certainly, President Obama couldn't do it with the Democratic Congress.
Well, Steve, in a few hours, Donald Trump will officially roll out his policy on taxes. And last night, he said that some low-income people will pay no taxes, and he'll increase taxes on the wealthy. How will that be received by Republicans?
Well, it's already started to get good marks, at least from Grover Norquist, who's a big tax reform conservative. He actually likes the plan. He says it's in line with some other Republicans who have proposed their plans. I think the big thing is the raising taxes on the wealthy is really going to come in the form of waiving or getting rid of itemized deductions for very wealthy people. But what Trump is proposing to do is simplify simplify income taxes and really lower rates pretty much for everybody, including poor people. And I think it's a very, at least conservatives seem to be, at least one conservative, Grover Norquist, seems to be pretty positive on this plan.
All right, so another week in another poll. According to a new NBC poll, Donald Trump and Ben Carson are tied. They're basically neck and neck. Amber, I'm wondering what you make of the numbers. Is this Donald Trump sliding or Carson gaining, or how would you explain these numbers?
It's hard to tell. I think we did see some sort of a slippage in Donald Trump's polls after, of course, the second Republican primary debate. And what was different about that debate than the one in August, when Trump did very well in the polls, was Carly Fiorina, the former Hewlett-Packard CEO, of course, spent much of the debate, everyone would agree, trumping Trump, really. And they engaged in a back and forth the next week as Trump continued to see polls decline. He's since pivoted, as he does, to attacking now Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and that's the latest feud. So I don't want to credit Carly Fiorina with Trump's slide right now, but I do think, for some reason, when we saw her engage with Donald Trump, she was able to highlight to Republican voters some of the negatives about him.
Steve, I want to turn to Jeb Bush for a minute. There are reports out there that Bush's top donors have said to him that he needs to improve in the polls or they'll pull their support. It's still early, but how serious could that be for him?
It's pretty serious. I mean, I think there's a lot of nerves. They've seen him drop in the polls. He's really sort of stagnant now, around 7, 8, 9%. And you're seeing people like Fiorina and Carson and Rubio surpass him in the polls, at least in recent polls. And I think it's got some Bush supporters and donors really worried. it's still early. Bush is playing the long game. I think he's set up better than anybody else financially to wait this out. But, I mean, he's got to do something in order to light a spark and to show these donors and to show his supporters that there will be an opportunity down the road for him to not slide anymore and actually boost his numbers from the sort of stagnant place where he is right now.
All right, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Steve Chaggaris and Amber Phillips, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.